If I tell you, say I love you, oh. Dun, dun. My money, my body, now your own. Oh, baby. Mm-mm. 20 billion for the yak. Okay, let's stop with that.
What is going on? This is Rouge Reviews. What we keep it for real, for real. I am Root, aka the Culture Black Kid,
I'm Informer, aka Iffy.
and today we are reviewing the latest Davido album, Five. The Afrobeat artist. This is their fourth album, which is interesting, unless my Apple Music serves me wrong. But let's just say fourth for now, and let me do my research while I chuck it to Iffy for our overall thoughts.
Okay, listen, I have grown up with Davido and his music, so this is definitely not my first impression of him, and it will not be my last impression of him. This whole album was for sure very on par for what he's been providing lately. That's keyword lately. Because if you know Davido, his music do not sound like this. His music was not like this at all. But yeah, it's like Five. This album is a mixture of really emotive Afro beats and then very high energy tracks as well with like a piano elements. And as someone who listened to a bit of his last project, this was honestly a much more subdued version. He's, as I just said, also started incorporating a lot of piano little things in his tracks, which he is. I know this man because as a Nigerian, this is what I would do too. But he's grabbing out what is popular, what is Africa looking to that is like popping off right now, and he's taking it. But it fits in some parts, and it's still fun. It's still fun nevertheless. I could keep going, but I'm gonna shut up because I could tell you this man's biography.
For
Okay,
sure.
I'm
For
done.
sure. And, I want you to cook. But let me go. As someone who is a novice to Afro beats, definitely someone who needs to do more research. I think this project is it's a beautiful listen. It's chill. Can I groove to this? Yes. Yes, I can.
Yes.
I can see what you were saying in regards to more piano things, even though again, still I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is going on sometimes
Yeah.
because my brain is still wired to hip hop beats and not to Afro beats.
Valid.
But for me, as someone again who was a novice of Afro beats, something I would lean to more towards is like Burna Boy's last album. Obviously, it has
Yeah.
more mainstream appeal, and that's just how he approaches his Afro beats world. But again, that's kind of what draws me in. This feels a bit more traditional for the
Most parts.
Again, like I said, I'm going to lean on you a lot for this. But from, again, from the most general of places, yeah. And that leads to, some fun moments, but also some moments that is like, okay, I kind of zoned out for a sec. Let's get into our pros. Iffy.
All right, this is a very solid Davido album. If listen, I feel like I'm gonna be repeating a lot of what I'm saying, but if you know Davido, he is very consistent with his sound. He's a very consistent artist, and he delivers music that like suits him and his listeners. Meaning, when he finds something that works for him, he will rinse it, or that man will rinse it, and it will continue and continue until he finds another thing. We've seen this in his past work, and we're seeing it now. But if it's working, don't fix it until it ain't broke. So I'm not mad at it. It's very consistent with what he's putting out now. This album is also a great one to have for pure vibes. Literally for vibes. It's an easy listen. It's a mindless listen, which I appreciate and have always appreciated when it comes to Davido. Yeah, I can't help but compare it to a lot of his older work. And just before this, I was kind of showing Rue a few of his older songs, and they are so drastically different, which kind of brings me back to that like he's gonna beat the horse till it's dead. And that I feel like that version of Afrobeats has sailed on for him completely, and he's onto something new. But once again, I'm not mad at it. It actually sounds nice, and it makes just for very easy, casual listening. If you try and deep it, that's when it kind of goes, it goes a bit awry. But in terms of just surface level, it's a good kind of like it's a good introduction to what Davido brings. Kind of. I can name a few better songs. My standouts, I have a few. I have a few standouts. Offer Me featuring Victoria Monet. I typically don't like to see non-African people on Afrobeats. I'm sorry, like get out. You could go. But I liked Victoria Monet on it. I think the beat is really great. It's super fun. And it is the first song on the album that actually caught my attention and kind of took me out of that like easy listening mode.
Mm-hmm.
The backing is also really great. Davido's second verse is a standout on this song for sure. And as I said, Miss Monet fits well on it. She just is pretty much on the chorus. And I'm not mad at that. She doesn't take away from the actual like whole of the song.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved Awuke as well. That was heat. That is definitely my favorite song on the album.
Mm-hmm.
The hook makes you move. You really hear those piano elements at play. And it just elevated the song 10 times more when Davido, like, as I said, once again, I'm gonna say the same things. When he finds his sound and he masters it, oh my god, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's nice to hear him kind of tap into this kind of South African sound. But
Mm-hmm.
remember where home is. Remember where home is. Remember where home is. You're in the West, not the South. Next song, Holy Water featuring Victoni and Music Keys. Victoria was just in Sydney too. But yeah, just like Awuke, you really hear those piano elements at play. Very, very catchy. I love both Victoria and Music Keys as well. They're kind of newer generation Afrobeats artists.
Mm-hmm.
So I will always love a little cross generational
Yeah.
play. But yeah, those features hit differently for me. And then finally, last standout, not because it was good,
Okay.
but for a completely different reason. It's the song Funds, which features Odumo Black and Chike.
Mm.
I didn't like the song. Actually, I maybe hated the song even, you could
Right.
say.
Okay.
But it was a standout because if you know your African music,
Mm.
this song briefly samples Vulindle. Holy crap! It's a South African song, Vulindlela, by the African icon that is Brenda Fassie.
Mm.
And it's right at the start, it's right at the beginning. And hearing a glimpse of her transported me back to when I was like 6 years old. And it's crazy. Like even though I didn't enjoy that song, just that sample alone, I was like, yeah, like I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
he did just
Transported.
yeah,
It was like
like
Ratatouille when he.
no, I was like, oh my god, the grape and the cheese. Like, I am really intoxicated by that. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, just that sample really shows you that Davido is always going to be someone that is heavily for African culture and heavily like in tune with what his audience and his fans love. And yeah, Vulindlela is that's a track for the ages. Like, you go to any party and like, oh my god, wow, no, okay, I'm gonna shut up. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
Okay, here are a couple of my pros. Let me start with some hooks that I liked.
Mm.
I liked 10 Kilo. I like the hook on 10 Kilo.
Yeah.
I think Abuke was fun
Yes.
as well. But Nothing Day. Nothing Day.
Nothing Day,
It's probably
oh.
my favorite. Such a fun call and response. And yeah, what else? Yeah, again, it's just overall just such a relaxing
Yeah.
listen. Nothing too deep. And yeah, a nice chuck on and just vibe to
Yeah.
it kind of project. So those are a handful of my pros. But with pros might become some cons and iffy. Yeah, what are some cons? You kind of started touching on them already, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. For me, it's just this gets way too repetitive. And this, okay. Oh my god, I feel like I'm not able to speak English today, but one thing I was saying to Rue and Devorah as well, shout out Devorah, but one thing I was saying to Rue off this was Davido is not an album artist.
Mm.
No, sorry. He is a singles man. So listening to a full project of his, it is congested right in the middle. It is so repetitive, so congested, so bloated. And yeah, I feel like in the middle of an album is where he always falters. Once again, this is like same thing, kind of a double-edged sword. He will find a sound that works for him and run it into the ground. And it's like, okay, enough. Like in this album, you're not getting a lot of variation. I'm so sorry. Like if that's what you're expecting, no. Easy listen. You can't this is not one to deep. You can't deep it. But yeah, like you're getting a lot of repetition even just within the middle. And he could have definitely cut some tracks. A lot of those tracks like were not standouts. I don't remember. And to kind of make it a bit more of a boom with this album, he could have left out a few songs. But that's I'm not gonna lie, kind of my only con. It's yeah, didn't really find too much wrong with it. It's not an album to me for like like it's very much just a I'm turning off my brain when I listen to this. Like
Okay.
that's what it is for me. Yeah.
No, for sure, for sure. And yeah, I think whilst again I said you chuck it on, it's a easy listen. At that same time, you know, sometimes you do want something where you can,
Yeah.
at least engage here and there.
Yeah.
Not saying that there isn't moments on here. Obviously, we mentioned a couple pros, but yeah, after a while, if you really are switching off, it kind of does meld together sonically. Here are a couple of my cons. Again, I think I'm more engaged in more mainstream, Afrobeat tracks again, or projects again, similar to like the Burna Boy last album. I don't think the American features were as exciting as I would have hoped. Obviously,
They're never gonna be.
Okay, so like you said, if you want a proper Afrobeats experience, you should have all artists from Nigeria or
Yeah.
from the diaspora. You shouldn't bring the Americans on there, or there's like a couple that can maybe slide. Titanium was probably my least favorite hook. I think Chris Brown did fine on the song though, nothing crazy, but it was pretty standard Chris Brown
Yeah.
feature. And then I think the only thing that made me really go, what was that? Was the violin at the end of the last song, which felt really forced and really awkward.
Yeah.
And was not the best way to leave the album.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird final impression like that, like an aftertaste that's kind of like, that's not how I wanted
That's
to end
not
it.
how I wanted it.
So,
no.
that violin at the end, especially as someone who plays violin, I was like,
That's what I'm saying. No, he doesn't. Wow. He's not an album man. He does not know how to actually like
sequence.
Yeah, he can't. He can't. Sorry.
So, yeah, there's a couple of my cons. But anyway, let's get into our final rating. Are we here for this? Depends. Feeling iffy about it. Yeah, iffy.
It depends on the day. Listen, 5 is actually a really fun album, but like I've heard better. Davido is, to me, I think he is an iconic person when it comes to Afro beats. Like he has been around for the longest time, like since I can remember. This man has been making music. And I'm always gonna say his older stuff, it has that it factor. It has that it factor when he was really authentically making music to make music. And not kind of just to make time go by. Yeah, as I said, me and him go way back. I'm familiar with his work. But yeah, I didn't like all of the album. It gets very bloated in that middle. And it turns into kind of one long song, and then you have the in the middle with the I'm a piano, and I'm like, okay, like very random. Sometimes it's nice, but I can't do it. But yeah, but still there are a few picks that I genuinely will go back to. I really do like a couple of the songs on there, hence why I haven't written this off completely. And when I am in a Davido mood, which I get into quite regularly, I'll go back to those songs, but I will not go back to this album as a whole. So that's why it depends on the day for me.
Yeah. And I'm going to join you in that world with depends on the day. Yeah, again, like I said, as a novice, this is just a cool Afrobeat project to chuck on. However, I still need to do more of my research to feel what's in the even more traditional bag, or what, really makes the essence. And whether that's a Davido project or anyone else who's a legend or, pioneer in the Afrobeat world, or even in this modern Afrobeat world, because obviously Afrobeat is not just a genre from the past 15 years.
Yeah.
It's definitely decades ago. So definitely need to do more of my research. However, again, chill listen. I think when I'm around my people, it's a fun one to just chuck on and just vibe out to. So,
it is.
Yeah, but let us know what you think. Are you here for this? Depends on the day, feeling iffy about it. Yeah. Davido 5. This is Roots Reviews. I am Rue, aka the Culture Black Kid.
I'm Ifoma, aka Ippy.
And we'll catch you next time. Peace.
If I tell you, say I love you. Oh, sorry, I have so lots gonna be coming out of my mouth. Okay, bye.